The Supreme Court hands Donald Trump a massive victory as they rule that he can, in fact, use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport these illegal terrorist gang members. This is such an important ruling because it sets the tone how the Supreme Court is going to deal with these overstepping activist Democrat judges. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's hear the breaking news about this epic ruling.
We're getting some breaking news at this hour coming out of the Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court has handed President Trump a victory, letting him and his administration use the 1798 law that historically has been employed only in wartime to swiftly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members as part of the Republican president's hardline approach to immigration, granting that administration request to lift the Washington-based U.S. judge James Boasberg's March 15th order that had temporarily blocked the summary deportations under the Alien Enemies Act.
In my eyes, this was always going to happen, but it's important that it did, because this wasn't just some legal dispute. This was clear overreach by the judicial, overreaching into Donald Trump's commander-in-chief authorities. This isn't a piece of legislation that a judge can determine its constitutionality. This is a law that's been on the books since the 18th century, and the president has explicit power to use it. And it's so despicable that the Democrats are defending foreign gang members who want to terrorize our citizens. But their whole gripe with Trump using this is they're under the interpretation it can only be used during wartime. But that's not what it says. Let me read it for you. It says that whenever there shall be a declared war between the United States and any foreign nation or government, or any invasion or predatory incursion shall be perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation or government, and the President of the United States shall make good proclamation of the event, all natives, citizens, denizens, or subjects of the hostile nation or government being males of the age 14 years and upwards, who shall be within the United States and not actually naturalized, shall be liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. They're missing the invasion and predatory incursion part. And they also conveniently leave out that there has been bipartisan reports. This information isn't a conspiracy. Venezuela's government orchestrated the release of their mental institutions and prisons and facilitated these people into the United States. That is a foreign government-sanctioned predatory incursion. The Dems may not like that Trump called it an incursion, but it is well within his power to do so. So that's why the Supreme Court ruled this way. But again, what's more important than this actual ruling is the Supreme Court taking a stand and putting these activist judges on notice for their unconstitutional behavior.
Yeah, this is a big victory for Trump in the new lawfare. So the old lawfare was try to destroy Donald Trump, 91 indictments, 2 impeachments, civil suits to destroy him, and all the rest of it. That all failed. He won the election and came back stronger than ever. And so the new lawfare is to try and stop him from implementing his agenda through a miasma of court cases. And this was a perfect example of it. And the Supreme Court is now allowing him to use this law. So this is a first victory in the fight against the new lawfare.
What he said is what's so frustrating about the Democrats. They are quite literally the ones continuing to upend all of our norms, disregard the rule of law in the Constitution to try to obstruct Donald Trump. They somehow think the judicial branch can't overstep. I always reference the unconstitutional move by the Colorado Supreme Court leading up to the election, where they removed Donald Trump from the ballot undemocratically, saying he was an insurrectionist, even though he had not been convicted. That is completely disregarding the rule of law, completely disregarding the concept of democracy. And that ruling was overturned unanimously by the Supreme Court. So it was obviously unconstitutional. The Supreme Court of Colorado knew it was when they issued it, but they didn't care because the courts aren't held to the same kind of scrutiny that the president is. And because they aren't, that's what's motivating all of these low-level district court, Democrat, activist, radical judges to unconstitutionally step in and try to defy and obstruct every aspect of Trump's administration. Here's what Pam Bondi said on the ruling. Tonight's decision is a landmark victory for the rule of law. An activist judge in Washington, D.C., does not have the jurisdiction to seize control of President Trump's authority to conduct foreign policy and keep the American people safe. The Department of Justice will continue fighting in court to make America safe again. It's just such an unpopular position for the Democrats to be taking. Like, Obama deported so many more people than Donald Trump, but no one was scrutinizing him, asking, oh, are these criminals getting due process? No one was telling Obama, send planes full of gang members back into the United States. No one was arguing for keeping foreign terrorist gang members in our country. So if they think Obama could deport 4 times as many people as Trump and play by the rules and do everything by the books, then why don't they think Donald Trump can too? Why do they just assume that he's breaking the law, that he's acting nefariously? It's just so evidently orange man bad that it's sickening. But another win the Supreme Court gave Trump today was they also issued a pause on another low-level district court ruling saying that the Trump administration had to personally return one specific person from this El Salvador prison. Take a listen.
We know there was a mistake made in this case. Now, that was said in a court filing that this guy had not supposed to be sent to El Salvador, where he's from, and he was.
Exactly. And the administration, the government has said, look, we should not have sent him. He was sent. And now the question is what to do. I mean, you can't force the U.S. to force El Salvador to bring him back. And remember, he's not a U.S. citizen. He was just granted temporary legal status. And so it's going to be a Supreme Court decision.
So this judge had said, to your point, that is a good point, that you can't force them, so you have to try, essentially. That's what they said. They said, well, you got to try to facilitate the return. In other words, it's almost like forced diplomacy, right? Does that kind of stuff usually come out of the courts? Forced diplomacy?
Look, that's a great point, Connell. The executive branch has great authority. You can't force them to do something that really the law doesn't permit. You just got some judges, some lower court judges that say, look, I know better how to run the immigration system than you do.
Now, the situation probably will get resolved. It was somebody who accidentally got sent to the El Salvadorian prison who wasn't supposed to go to the prison, but actually was an illegal from El Salvador. Now, my compassion for these people is pretty close to zero, but I will say we should at least get him out of CCOT, because that prison is definitely for people who commit the most vile crimes. He's already in El Salvador, just let him free. But it's not that the problem wasn't going to get resolved. It was how this judge ruled on it. They basically tried to scold Donald Trump like they were his parent and say, you have to get this person out, and it has to be in this time frame, and it has to be done now, and I want to have updates. And the Trump administration was like, hey, we can't just force El Salvador to do something. So the Supreme Court pause just basically puts a chill on this judge acting as if they're Donald Trump's parent, and basically says you don't have the legal power to tell the president to engage in foreign policy discussions based on what you'd like him to do. Which again is another important ruling. These judges keep issuing injunctions and TROs, and the stupid Trump deranged Democrat will say, well, he shouldn't break so many laws then, and they wouldn't have to issue all these rulings. But at what point, after so many rulings by the Supreme Court eventually deeming all of these things to be unconstitutional, will the left admit that these judges are just overstepping, are unlawfully interfering? They probably won't, because, orange man bad, and they'll sell their soul to die on that hill. And the last thing I want to show you in this video is Israel's prime minister was at the White House today, and he let everybody know in the press conference they are removing all tariffs on America and will be eliminating their trade deficit with the U.S.
First, if I can mention tariffs, it's a subject of some interest today. I can tell you that I said to the president a very simple thing. We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States. It says, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And, I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade. And I think that's basically the position that you have put forward, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs and rapidly. I had the opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick yesterday. We talked about how we could effect this quickly, and I hope to bring the solution very quickly. We're not talking about intentions. We're not talking about just words. We're talking about results. And those results are going to come. That's the first.
Thank you very much. It's very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
So despite the crying and the panicking from the experts and the Democrats, more and more world leaders keep coming to the table offering Trump amazing terms because they're trying to get rich and work with the United States, instead of taking some embarrassing moral stand like Canada. The entire world genuinely thought that America was just going to continue with the modus operandi of enriching the entire world. This is the first time someone has used the insane economic might of the United States to leverage a fair and prosperous deal for its citizens. And you can tell a lot by the countries who are willing to come to the table and work out a fair deal, and the ones who are crying and whining and moaning that the United States taxpayer won't be taking care of them anymore. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If this was a huge win, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on the notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.